Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
This is Cop Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mehmet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cop Talk. I'm Kevin Schroeder, your host. And unfortunately, my co-host is not feeling well, so we wish him luck. Thoughts and prayers to Captain Ed Mehmet, and hopefully he'll be with us anytime soon. For now, we have a roundtable panel, and first I'll introduce, on my left here is retired Sergeant Pete Panucci. Also from NYPD, retired police officer David Giordano.
Present for duty.
And the Lieutenant Rory Kappa. Welcome, guys.
Nice to see you, Kevin.
So, gentlemen, what's out there that's newsworthy, right? Everyone's talking about the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping, burglary, robbery, what have you. So I think that'd be a great topic today. We'll begin with the sergeant here, who's formerly a homicide detective as well. Go ahead, Pete.
I think I'm more flustered now than I was at the beginning. And could have been a home invasion, could have been a sexual assault. I just don't know. I think the whole thing with the Bitcoin demands, that's a red herring. I think that's somebody that's not involved in this, somebody just looking to make a score. I have some issues with how things are conducted out there. I mean, they released that crime scene after 2 days. And I'm not saying, we're NYPD, we're better than this. That's not the case. You have a crime scene like that, in a case of this magnitude, that thing gets locked down and it stays locked down. We had some major homicides over the years. We locked up locations for months at a time and kept the cop on them 24/7. Out there, you got the Domino's pizza guy making the delivery to the house. I mean, like, what's going on here? Not a fan of that chief. I don't know. I mean, he was on there the other day saying, "Oh, I'm exhausted." All right, you know what? Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody.
In all fairness, to him, I mean, they're a small police
not that small,
and it's not like NYPD.
No,
and
nothing's like
they're not exactly, and they're not that experience. I'm sure they don't have many. I really don't know their crime statistics, but I'm sure they don't have many homicides, robberies, and burglaries.
But I'll tell you what, Kevin, this guy takes time off to go to a college basketball game in the middle of this.
Yeah, that was
his
bad
picture
look.
snapped.
Yeah. Very bad look.
Yeah.
The optics on that
You're
are
head of
horrendous.
agency with a major crime that's making national news, and you're going to a basketball game. That was a bad look.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it took. How many? Do we know how many? Their manpower. Do we know how how many?
Well, it's Pima County. He's actually the sheriff. It's an elected position. He's the sheriff of Pima. He was elected in 2020. Then he was reelected in 2024. So they have it's give or take, it's a 1,500 man department. They cover like 9,000 square miles. It's a huge county,
huge, right.
with a lot of space with nothing going on. But they're relatively, for their size and what they do, they're a relatively sophisticated department. They have patrol, they have investigative units, they have critical response units, they have youth outreaches, they have community affairs type things. So they do have a lot going on. It's not like they're just like Andy Griffith in Mayberry, two people. It is a sophisticated department.
And there's an addition of the Tucson City Police as well.
Yes, right.
Are they? Do you know anything about their manpower or
the city
their
police?
skills? No.
But I know, but that's within the county.
Right.
Yeah.
So whose jurisdiction is it for the homicide? Would it be the sheriff's office? Would it be state troopers?
I think it's sheriff's office.
I think the sheriff is the superseding, for the county. They're considered like the higher.
So it's their case.
Police agency.
Everybody else
It would be
going
their
to
case,
assist them. It's their case.
Technically,
Okay.
this is still a kidnapping.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't want to say this could well be a homicide, and I think that's where it's going. It's unfortunate. I don't think this woman's with us anymore.
Yeah. It's looking more and more like that. I'm afraid.
Well, you say kidnapping. You think that was the initial plan, or you think maybe it was a burglary that went bad, turned into a homicide or kidnapping?
I'll tell you what. As a guy that worked late tours for a lot of years, nastiest criminals you're going to come across a guy to do nighttime residential burglaries. There's usually a component involved there. A lot of these guys get off on doing that. And you're going into somebody's house where there's going to be people sleeping.
Right.
My thought on that is, with a nighttime residential burglar, you're one step away from being a rapist or a murderer. Somebody wakes up. Did she wake up? Maybe. And lately, because now that they've asked the people of the county, check your ring cams. And there's all sorts of these videos popping up of all these creepers going onto people's property in the middle of the night.
Wow.
And I'm like, I get bugged out. I'm a city boy, Right. I'm like, look at these guys. So they may well have a problem out there. I would be looking, like I said, I'm an old school kind of guy. I'm going to be looking at recent parolees, guys that did residential burgs, and drilling down hard on that. Unless this is something really out of left field, and it's somebody that came across the border, which is really going to complicate this.
Well, that's going to be huge because, again, that's something we don't deal with necessarily in New York City, but you have to keep in mind that where she is, they're about maybe the closest
50
border.
miles from
50 to 60
Nogales.
something
I think it's an
miles
hour ride.
from
Nogales.
Nogales.
Yeah.
So
Close.
it's only like an hour ride, maybe. Yeah. So you probably have a lot of the night stalkers, as you're saying, coming onto people's property. Yeah.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care. Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
What about a canvas of the area? You think, I'm hoping they did a canvas of the area, knocking on doors, old school detective work, Detective 101 work, knocking on doors, canvassing for video. It just seems like the video they got at the home came days later. Yeah. Again, I'm sure there's a lot of things they're not telling us, rightfully so. However, again, detective work.
We're trying to piece together a story where there's major parts of it that we just don't know.
That we have no,
Right.
Other things, there's things that they've put out in the paper. I would not be discussing this in public.
Right.
I would not be discussing the backpack, how they're going to go to Walmart. And I'm like, ooh, man.
Yeah.
Because that backpack, if this guy's ever found, which would be a key piece of evidence, that backpack is gone.
Yeah, sure.
And there's people don't realize, just go to Walmart. No, you just don't go to Walmart. Right. You might have 10 Walmarts. You may, Lord knows how many of those backpacks are sold in the area. Then you got to trace down each sale. Then you really throw a curveball in there. What if he didn't buy the backpack?
Yeah. You got to hope that he was the purchaser. Of that.
But Pete, you bring up a great point, because that was one of my immediate questions is, okay, purchased at Walmart. Well, which Walmart? How many Walmarts are there in proximity to where she lives? Did you search them all? Do you try to get receipts? Do you try to get video from each one? Yeah.
Point is, I wouldn't be discussing that publicly.
Yeah, exactly. And like a point that you brought up earlier about the crime scene, we've always been taught you make the crime scene as huge as possible, right? You make it as wide as possible, and then you work in. It seems like they kept it almost centered right around the immediate perimeter of the house, and then released it early.
Right.
Yeah, the canvases, they're going back out now like a week and a half later, 10 to 11 days later, they're out there doing these massive canvases. Now, I've been a victim of some NYPD canvases in my lifetime. Wow. We had the jewelry store robbery on the Upper East Side. We canvassed 4,500 apartments, identified the occupants, and contacted 2,300 cab drivers that we picked up on GPS in the area. The Times Square bombing, 2009, when they blew up they threw a bomb at the Army Recruitment Center. That was a massive canvass that went on for months. Now, canvassing a week later, maybe you should have been on. I'm a big fan of old school stuff. Get out there, knock on doors. Start talking.
The old shoe leather, and get out there.
Red light cameras, speeding cameras. Any summonses written like how they call it, Son of Sam, right? Son of Sam on a summons.
Summons caught him.
Exactly. So what about parking summonses, moving violations in the area the past month? Just take a look at everybody. Again, unless they're not telling us a lot, which there probably isn't a lot they're not telling us, I don't know where this case is. I don't even know what the crime is.
Something else we touched on, which I found interesting right from the beginning. You're a kidnapper. We're assuming kidnapping. Of all the places you would contact, you would think they're going to contact or make contact with the family. But if you're going to go public and you're going to go to a news agency, an outlet, why would you go to TMZ? Not to disparage TMZ, but it's a celebrity news entertainment network. Why would you go to them? So
I'll tell you why. TMZ has a huge footprint, mostly across like social media, YouTube.
But would anybody take them serious? I look at that like it's all fluff. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, Harvey Levin is not the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Court TV.
Yeah.
That's where he's from. Court TV, right? Harvey.
Way back when, I think, before he started TMZ.
Yep.
But to your point, Pete, Dave and I were discussing with these emails, right? You're asking for Bitcoin, no less, and then you have. It almost seems like there's some conflicting emails. Some are saying information about her. Others are where to find her. So it seems like there's almost like differences in the type of email that's coming in. But are they all coming from the same address? Last we heard is that potentially they were all coming from the same email address. Now, you would think, investigative-wise, can you not track that, even if it's scrambled, or I forget what the term is, but encrypted. But we should be able to, or the FBI should be able to do something with that. No.
Well, again, unless the emails are originated below our United States border. You know, somewhere south, Mexico, or even southern of there.
Or as AOC would say, below the equator?
Below the equator. If it's originating from there, it's just going to complicate matters even more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, you would think they'd get the IP address, right, from the email. I mean, comment, you know.
Something jumped out at me right in the beginning when they released the video. Now, maybe this guy thought he researched this well. I don't know. But if you're a guy that's doing kidnappings, it's a pretty rarefied area of employment, so to speak. When he walked in there, we all know as cops, you get a barricade inside an apartment or a burglary, something going on in an apartment, you don't want them to see you in the hallway. There was always one guy in any platoon that was Mr. Gadget, and he'd whip out a thing of electrical tape. Mm-hmm. Or somebody had bubble gum, slap the bubble gum over the peephole so the bad guy can't see what we're doing. If I'm going to do something like that, especially in this day and age, I'm going to make a presumption that there's cameras there. So he walks up. That piece of tape would have been hanging right on my sleeve like that to go over the camera. I understand he wanted to be quiet while dismantling it. But we have a 20, 30-second tape of this guy. And there's a lot of identifiable features in there. Barring that, he should have just walked up and smashed it. Mm-hmm. I said, this guy's not a pro. And you get into the whole thing with the holster. Which
that intrigues me, the whole holster thing. Yeah. I mean, first of all, being professional is, you know, we carried guns for a living. Who carries a gun like that flap in the front, howdy doody look? Who does that? And my understanding is now that holster is actually something that's a very cheap, like polyester sewn thing that is also sold in Walmart.
Yeah. I mean, if you see a purchase in Walmart where you bought that backpack and a holster that day, okay, now you're onto something.
Exactly.
Well, the other thing that intrigues me, because again, you know, being cops, and we tend to be gun guys, right, Dave? I mean, Dave and I, we looked at this gun, we're looking at it, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's a Glock, or it's this, or it's that." But I'm not so sure with that holster.
It's not the right holster.
Yeah, it's certainly not the right holster. But I'm wondering, is it a real gun? Is it an air gun? Is it something, if they sell the holster, they probably sell air pistols, pellet pistols, things like that also in Walmart. Could someone have bought both together at the same time? You know, a gun and the holster.
So Internet Wag threw a point out there. And afterwards I thought, I don't know. You go to a lot of the municipalities in Mexico, like local police departments, exceptionally underfunded and everything. You see combinations, all sorts of handguns, holsters, and everything, like insane.
Yeah.
You know, is this kind of, that got me thinking about maybe it is someone from the south of the border. Who knows? At this, I don't think anybody can make an accurate judgment yet. But the holster and the fact that he did the old, as I say, the old plant over the ring cam trick, as Maxwell Smart would say, because hanging a plant over a ring cam, like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, Dave, you do a lot of private investigations, you know, so you think do you think it's a kidnapping? Or?
I don't have a clue. I've been besieged with this on the news every night, and I listen. I say, "Oh, that guy's got a good point. Oh, that guy's got a good point." And I think the most out of them all, I think Paul Morrow was the most articulate on hitting every point.
Sure,
he was great. I was telling Rory when I heard about this, I drew a parallel to the Harvey Weinstein kidnapping we had here in New York in 1993. He survived 12 days down in a dirt ditch. How long are we without Nancy now? I mean,
17 days.
17 days.
17 days.
So it's like going into 3 weeks.
If she's out there somewhere, she's probably not alive.
Yeah.
I mean, even Weinstein, when he was down in that ditch, they came periodically and threw food down for him and a tape recorder so they could record his voice, give it to the family. That was good. Well, you were around.
Yeah, I was around for it. I didn't work on that case, though.
Yeah, and I mean, they collared everyone involved.
Yeah.
Deported 2 of them after they did their time in prison. The other 3, I think the other 3 are out.
Yeah. What year was that again? 93?
93.
93.
Yeah, 93.
Yeah. Where was he? He was on the, where'd they find him? What was the location?
On the Upper West Side.
West Side, by the highway? By the West Highway?
On a highway.
158th Street,
Yeah,
somewhere.
but I think he was down in like a
ravine of some sort.
Well, I think it might have been like a type of sewer. I think, but it might not so much a sewer as a like one of the underground vaults for wiring and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how the kidnappers found that location to entomb him alive, you know? It's
Yeah. Are they from the Heights?
Kevin, Pete.
Yes.
You guys both being very active investigators, homicide investigators. I think you would agree with the statement that probably close to like 90% of cases like this, where it's a kidnapping or a homicide, it's usually somebody that's known to the person who is the victim, whether it's a family member or somebody that's close to the family. It's very rare that it's just a stranger, especially when it's involving a home.
Yeah, I think most people don't understand. Kidnapping is actually pretty rare. Like stranger on stranger kidnapping. Kidnapping is drug dealers, gangsters. That happens, but that's a subset of people that they're not going to the cops to report it either.
Right.
Back in the 80s and 90s, the Colombians were grabbing people from Jackson Heights, other drug dealers, and they go to your house and they sit there with your family and they says, go into the bank, you're taking the cash out. If anything goes wrong, we're going to kill your wife, we're going to kill all your kids in front of you. So those guys were brutal. I don't think that's the case here. Like I said, as each day passes, I'm having a little bit more of a problem with the kidnapping.
Yeah.
Could be a random psycho walking through the hood, just looking through, doing a burglary. Yeah. I don't know.
I would, from what I've seen and know in my experience, I would think maybe it was a burglary that, you know, she woke up and that's where she fought them and that's where the blood comes from and they just, instead of leaving her for dead or whatever, or assaulting her and leaving her to die, or be injured, they took her with them, maybe, you know, for whatever reason. I just don't think it was just an out-and-out kidnapping. That's just my opinion.
What, based on what we were just talking about, you know, how usually it's somebody that's familiar with the family. What's your feeling on Sheriff Nanos now making a public statement that he's eliminated and cleared the family, all family members? Is that you think that is that something that he's putting out there as a subterfuge? It's something that to put maybe somebody that he may have as a suspect at ease, or is he just putting that out there just to have something to say?
He might have been. First off, the family's getting an immense amount of pressure on them.
Sure,
and a lot of people are calling out.
Sure.
Savannah Guthrie's sister, Ciano, Tommaso Ciano, and I'm sure they're probably like, "Hey, listen. You got to get this out there so this can stop." They're under enough pressure as it is.
I don't know that we would do that. I don't know that we would automatically make a statement that we're clearing the family. But you got to remember also, he is, at the end of the day, an elected official. So
exactly. I don't think I would not come out and make a specific declaration like that.
Right.
You know, come out with something else. Oh, at this time, you know, the investigation is taking us in a different direction.
Right.
I think we've been spoiled over the years with having Ray Kelly step up to the microphone, look like a police commissioner, speak like a police commissioner, give you direct order of what's occurring. As this guy seems to be just shooting from the hip. He doesn't look like a serious guy. Not doubting that he must have great credentials, right?
Yeah, well, he's been in law enforcement, I believe, like about 50 years altogether.
Well, when Ray Kelly was the commissioner, he would not allow any chiefs speak.
Right.
He would do the speaking.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the
well, coincidentally enough, Ray Kelly was the police commissioner during the Harvey Weinstein kidnapping and left and then came back. But he was good. He was sharp. He was
great. Good. Yeah.
We were spoiled.
But he handled all the press conferences, not the DCPI commissioner, not the chief of that borough, not like you've seen since Kelly. You know, you've seen, you know, even captains, you know, from Detective Bureau speaking, even detectives speaking on it, about a case. But when Kelly was there, Commissioner.
Kelly had a certain gravitas about him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
When he walked in the room, everybody knew who was in charge.
Right.
And he was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You didn't see much pushback from the media on him. They didn't challenge him.
And you don't get that feeling with this police chief out in Tucson.
Ray Kelly wouldn't be at a basketball game either in the middle of a major case like this.
Well, again, I think in fairness, though, to the sheriff, you do have to give him a little bit of leeway, only because, again, he is an elected official. He has to appeal to the public. He has to appeal to his electoral base. And some of the current philosophy, I guess, in policing everywhere else is kind of gentler, and it's very fashionable now for everybody to come out and show their emotions and be, very upset. I don't think we've ever had a case, as heinous as any of them have been, where we've ever had Commissioner Kelly come out and start crying on television.
No.
Yeah.
Ray Kelly didn't get exhausted. He didn't cry.
It's not my type of policing, but
you were like, this guy.
I don't think it instills confidence when the sheriff comes out there and starts to be visibly shaken and upset.
No, it doesn't. And, I'm exhausted. All right, you know what? There were a lot of nights I was exhausted, but you know what? I didn't go to a basketball game. I had a few hours off. I went home and got some sleep. Took a shower, put on a fresh suit, and I went back for another 16 or 18 hours and worked. Nobody wants to see that. Hey, bro, it's time for you to step down. As you can see, I'm not a fan of the guy.
I can see the working detective, the catching case detective, being a little tired. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
really,
But detectives here, and I think we can all agree on it, especially with certain, depending on who the chief of detectives, were incredibly exhausted on cases.
Yeah, of course.
But you know what?
Keep going.
You keep going.
Oh, no, absolutely.
You might go in the dorm,
Absolutely.
take 3 hours, get a snooze, bang, you're back to the grind.
Carnegie Deli homicide.
Nope.
22 hours a day, for months, from May 10th, I think it was May 10th to 11th of 2001, right before 9/11 was the Carnegie Deli homicide. And my Midtown North Squad guys were flying all over the country on tips. It was an open checkbook, blank checkbook.
Speaking of tips, I understand with this case, they've now fielded in excess of 30,000 calls coming into this. But I'm wondering, have they dumped everybody's phone? Have they dumped her phone? Does she have a phone?
Well, I like to think they dumped her phone. Day one. Day one. Now, from the day February 1st she was kidnapped, alleged kidnapped, now, how soon after that, do you guys remember when the first contact from the alleged perps came in regarding a ransom?
I don't remember. About 2 days. I was going to say, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 days, but I'm not really sure on that.
I thought it was about 3 days or maybe more.
Yeah.
Which I kind of found odd. 3 days, 4 days, but whatever.
Either A, this is somebody just looking to jump in the game, make a score, or B, somebody did a homicide and says, man, let me throw this in another direction.
Right. True.
I don't know. I'm not buying the kidnap theory.
No, with
anymore.
any luck, by the time this broadcast airs, hopefully there'll be a conclusion.
Yeah, hopefully,
to this,
hopefully
this
she's
case.
found, she's safe.
Yeah.
She's alive. Tough situation,
I'm wondering,
Very interesting.
Being that the sheriff now has at least publicly cleared the family, I'm wondering, have they done any other build out for looking at her specifically? Guys, we would call it victimology. Are we looking at the victimology? Who does she know? Who does she associate with? Does she have people that come to the house? Does she have home health aides or caretakers or contract day
Landscapers?
workers? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have they looked at that? I'm hoping
I'd like
so.
to think
I'm hoping so because it seems like it must go with our theory that usually with these cases being somebody that is known to the family or they would have reason to be on the grounds or have interaction with her, it's got to be somebody that maybe has a cousin or a relative or somebody else that needs a couple of dollars and they say, hey, we got a score here. We could do this. So I'm wondering, have they looked at that? Does she get regular deliveries of things? Is there anybody that she associates with that comes to her?
There's been some strange elements. The other day, a pool company showed up at the house.
Yeah.
Not the regular pool company. And
they're looking to pick up the contract.
Well, you know what? Me being the kind of guy I am, we would have had every one of them face planted in the backyard, guns to their heads. Who are you guys? I hate to be nasty about it, but you know what? You show up out of nowhere, and you're not even the pool company?
Yeah.
Who sent you?
Yeah.
You know,
And it was something with an Amazon driver, right? Now, as I'm thinking about, wasn't there an Amazon driver that showed up somewhere? And
it was a pizza delivery guy.
oh, pizza delivery. Okay. Yeah.
I showed up delivering pizza to the reporters and walked up to the house. Like I said, that's another situation where, I don't know, maybe they didn't buy any yellow tape out and, to put around the stay out.
Around the cactus.
But the point being, there should be nobody entering on that property.
Sure.
The FBI has been back there multiple times now looking for stuff. That's going to be a problem if and when an arrest is made. You can guarantee some defense attorney is going to be standing there saying, well, you let the crime scene go. This is contaminated.
Right.
How do we know this, this whatever piece of evidence you recovered? We don't know. All sorts of people walked across that property.
Right.
Which brings me to the glove.
Ah, the glove.
Glove in the
Famous
desert.
glove.
Famous glove. And you know what? It looks very similar to that glove that guy's wearing. They put out a really bizarrely worded release about it the other night. And it said, it could be tied to the guy in the house. And it left you wondering, did they recover DNA in the house that is matched to this glove? Or you just don't know?
Yeah, there seems to be conflicts there because they're claiming on one hand they have DNA in the house, then they say they have some DNA from the glove, but we still have no definitive answer on whether or not there's a match to those DNAs.
Yeah, and sometimes a glove is just a glove.
Right.
I mean, it's 2 miles from the house.
Right.
And somebody I was speaking to that was out there, he said to me, he says, the wind in the desert at night, he says, when it's blowing out here, Lord knows where this thing came from. There's stuff blowing all over the desert. And they found 15 other gloves that went back to first responders that were, I don't know.
Davey said Paul Morrow's out there.
Yes, he is.
Aside from our
I
job,
think he's back in New York.
I think he's been out there a couple of times already.
Oh, I think
He was hired by the family, I guess. I assume.
No, he's working
No.
with Fox.
He was the correspondent, but I think he was out there for a good solid week, and he's been back though here in New York.
Yeah, well, I think Savannah's family should hire you to go out there and solve it.
I have no time to.
Well, hopefully she hired 10 former NYPD detectives to
security
go out there and
surveillance
solve the
system, Dave.
case.
You're going to have to go out there and do a survey.
I was just going to bring that up with Kevin and I. We're getting off topic a little. Kevin and I were out in Vermont. When were we out there? Last summer, doing the security survey on that house. Now, there's some similarities between that house in Vermont and the one in Tucson, right? Kind of isolated, dark, different points of entry into that house. So
many different points.
Hopefully, that woman is paying attention to what's going on with Nancy and saying, their suggestions may have not been so bad after all.
Well, he did take our suggestions, and he did everything we recommended, by the way.
Is that right?
Yeah, they did everything.
Oh,
from
boy. Feather
A
in
to
my
Z,
cap.
so I think that they're going to be safe for now.
Oh, yeah.
God willing. But anyway, gentlemen, last words. Dave?
Unfortunately, I think she's not with us anymore. I just hope they fry the guy that did this. Yeah. The guy or girl. Or all of them, guys and girls.
Team effort, right? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm still hopeful that by some miracle she is still alive somewhere. There's been much made on this blue fly technology that they've used, trying to trace the low frequency signals, something like pacemakers and those fit watches and other things, and trying to source that out and maybe even try to eliminate other people or other things around the area. So I'm hoping that maybe something positive is going to come out of that and the DNA matches, which there's been a lot made about the things going out to the lab in Florida. But what I'm afraid of is that there may be a conflict with trying to get the stuff out in the lab there certified with the stuff that the lab in Quantico has. I don't know how that's going to really work out. Pete's giving me the look like yep.
All I can say is I feel for the family, and that's really where the focus should be. Their mother's missing. These people are devastated, and I'm not overly optimistic of a live recovery. and everybody that's paying attention to this, just keep an open mind. I don't think anybody can conclusively say where this is going to go yet. Paul Morrow seems to be the clearest guy on. He's doing excellent reporting for Fox. It seems to me when you start looking at other channels and different social media, your head is just going to start swimming. And so just take everything objectively and take a lot of it with a grain of salt.
Yep.
You just don't know how this is going to end yet, but it's not good. It's not good. It really is terrible for that.
To be continued, it's crazy. Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you guys for being on the panel today. Rory Capra.
Thank you, Kevin.
David Giordano.
We can have a post-kidnapping roundtable.
Well, by the time this show airs, I'm hoping that Nancy Guthrie is well and fine, and her family, she comes home to her family. Pete Panucci, thank you as well. But yes, we wish the family of Nancy Guthrie all the best, thoughts and prayers, and hopefully this ends by the time the show airs. They get the perpetrators responsible, and she's in good health and goodwill. Until next time, I'd like to thank everyone for listening to another episode of Cop Talk. Captain Ed Mamet, we wish you health, and hopefully, God willing, you'll be with us real soon.
Quick recovery.
Quick recovery. Thank you, Pete. But until next time, God bless you. God bless America. God bless law enforcement throughout the country. And God bless our U.S. military. Thank you for listening.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.